glad you're with us on Wealth by Design. Brad Johansson, Tom Elder, president of Retirement Wealth Design. Nice to be back with you, bud. How are you?
I couldn't be doing any better right now. It's been fantastic.
Why? Because of the amount of people that are now walking in and saying, I would like some help.
You know what's really neat, actually, is that I have a great team that I work with.
Yeah, you do.
And in our company, we've built this culture that is built around servant leadership.
Yeah.
And we strongly feel as a team that if we care about each other, we care about the business, we care about our clients will care about our community. And it's so amazing to watch it in action. I get letters sometimes from clients saying, thank you so much, or, they send little gifts, and I share this with the team, and my team has so much enthusiasm around positive feedback, and especially seeing, because, we all know that we make a difference in what we do, but it's hearing it directly that, I don't know, it softens the heart.
No question.
And it really confirms that you're in the right place at the right time. And our office is filled with people that are just in the right place at the right time. And we love what we do.
Well, and we love being here for you. So thank you for spending time with us. I love that you say that, Tom. And in doing it, it is about the education process. And sometimes it's talking about stuff that you don't want to talk about. We're going to do that today, which is taxes. We don't like talking about taxes. The problem is that the government would like to keep you on the loop as your business partner for the rest of your life. So are you just looking through the rearview mirror, or are you heading through the windshield? We're going to spend some time trying to head through the windshield on taxes today as we move forward. Why is this such a tough topic to hit, and why do we do it all of the time on this program? Is it because this may be the biggest hurdle that we face going forward that we can't seem to get over because the taxes are always in front of us?
Well, it's the largest expense for most retirees is going to be your tax bill. I mean, you have $1 million in your IRA, but you don't have $1 million. You have a silent partner in there that has has $200,000 to $300,000 of that is going to the IRS. So $700,000 to $800,000 of it's your money. And that's regardless of where you stand from the size of savings that you have, is taxes are going to be really expensive in retirement. And unfortunately, when it comes to financial planning, CPAs are fantastic for tax preparation. Like I have a CPA, she's awesome. If she's watching this, you are amazing. And you saved me lots of money last year. But that's what CPAs do, is use the reference of the rearview mirror. It's really hard to drive a car when you're just staring through the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
Well, CPAs, that's what they do, is they look at the last year and they try to save you money. What a financial planner is going to do, somebody like myself, is going to look out in the future, say 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and see what are the taxes you're going to pay. That's why we start with a retirement income plan, is because a retirement income plan, we can project how much income you're going to have in the future, where it's going to be coming from, and then we can anticipate the tax bill that's going to be associated with it. And in doing so, we can reverse engineer it to say, okay, can we do anything now that will change how it's going to affect you in the next 10, 15, 20 years? And in doing so, sometimes we save hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes over somebody's lifetime.
You've actually put together a tool for something like this, which is why we're going to share it with you. It is a retirement tax tool. Simply enough, that's the website, retirementtaxtool.com. Scan the QR code that's right here. You can go to the website. You've put a lot of money away that Uncle Sam has yet to touch. Tom, this is what we were told to do. What is this going to show us as we put in our 401ks, our 403bs, our 457s? And I apologize. Once you do this, and it'll only take a couple of minutes, you can't unsee the number. It is what it is, and yet there's another strategy on the other side of this report that comes back for you that you can keep more money in your pocket. What's the idea?
Yes, the idea is it's a personalized tool that if you've never considered Roth conversions before, this is a way that will show you, is it even worth your time, energy, and effort, okay? And so if you use the tool, give my team a call. I'm happy to help you for free and walk through what this tool means and how you can start to implement some actions with it, because it's going to ask you How much is in your pre-tax accounts, like your 401k or your IRA? It's going to ask you what you expect to get an investment return on, and it's going to ask you what your future tax rate is going to be, or what your current tax rate is, federally speaking. And then it's going to take all of that and it's going to show you the amount of taxes that you're going to pay in your lifetime based off of the distributions or the money coming out of your IRA and 401k. And that number is huge. Okay, like I said, it is the biggest expense for most retirees in retirement. And so what we want to do then is offer an alternative, and this is just using one strategy. There are numerous tax strategies that we advise on. This is just one. And the one that it shows you is Roth conversions. And these Roth conversions can be extremely powerful because just like your IRA is going to compound and grow, if we can get more money into those tax-free Roth accounts early on, now you're compounding and growing your tax-free money. So that way you're not growing and compounding the taxes you're going to pay to the IRS.
All right. Hopefully you use this tool as we continue to talk about this. Why is this advantageous now? And I suppose that's one of the other reasons that we spend time talking about this on this program. You're actually in a good tax situation right now. What, Brad? You're saying we play with the rules that we have. And the rules that we have right now, argue with me, are we ever going to see a better marginal tax rate than we do right now?
It would be really, really hard to see a lower tax rate.
It'd be hard to conceive that, wouldn't it?
So right now, we're actually at the third lowest tax rates in history. Now, I know it doesn't feel that way because we pay taxes on everything. We pay sales taxes, we pay property taxes, real estate taxes, we pay state tax, we pay all kinds of taxes, okay? And I get that. However, historically speaking, this is the third lowest we've ever been. And we have a known tax rate. We have a known tax rate. We don't know what it's going to be 5, 10, 15 years from now. We have a known tax rate. And what the current tax code says is that they will stay in effect, current taxes will stay in effect, okay, permanently, which is legislative speak until the next guy changes it.
Right.
So what that means, though, is that we have like 3 or 4 more years at least to start making some changes. So again, don't drive looking at the rearview mirror. Don't look back and say, well, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Instead, look forward and say, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do this year? I actually have some people that I've been working with that after reviewing their situation, they can do Roth conversions for free. And that's because they're over the age of 65. They are getting such a big chunk out of income coming from their Social Security that they're not using all of their standard deduction right now because they're getting the senior bonus deduction on top of the standard deduction on top of the senior deduction. And so there's this massive amount of opportunity that's going unused, untapped potential. And all it does is take a little bit of tax planning, and we might be able to even do some Roth conversions for free. Or if not free, at a very reduced cost. But right now, taxes are actually in a very good spot. And when we look at our federal deficit, we are $38 trillion in the hole. And as a country, our GDP is about $29 trillion. So how I look at this is it's kind of like I were to make $29,000 a year in my job, but my credit card statement says that I have an outstanding balance of $39,000. Is that thing getting paid off anytime soon?
Nope.
No, right? No. And so what we need to do is we need to use the current tax code knowing that there is the risk of it going up, but even if it stays the same, there's the opportunity that we can leverage the current tax law to start saving money and repositioning you into more tax efficient manners. And I know that when it comes to taxes, the tax code is in a book about that thick. All right, I know that it's a lot of language, it's a lot of minute details. However, part of the reason that you get advice is you're hiring a professional, somebody that does this, somebody that understands what the tax code is and how it relates to your situation. And I'm willing to give you that advice, complimentary. Because at the end of the day, My whole goal is to leave you better off because you came across my path. You're watching this for a reason. You're watching this show for a reason. And I'm introducing you to my team with the phone number 833-348-4813. So that way you can schedule some time and I will leave you better off, because this is a very, very big bill that is coming your way, whether you realize it or not. And there might be something you can do about it to get ahead of it.
Which is why we put the tool on. Let me go Herm Edwards on you. You play to win the game. And the game is keeping more money in your pocket than giving it to Uncle Sam. If you have the rules in place right now to use them to your advantage, what are you waiting for? The idea is there may be a strategy to help make it better. Do you like better? 833-348-4813. Let's put together a complimentary written financial plan. Selling nothing, just an appointment to get a second opinion. Does this work for me? Are there other strategies that work for me? Maybe I ought to check it out. Maybe I ought to spend an hour on this. Maybe I ought to just spend 15 minutes making the phone call to try and find out whether this is right for me. Interested in helping yourself? Do it now. Back after this.
For me, my ideal client looks like somebody that has worked hard their entire lives, has generally lived below their means, so they've been able to save some money, and now they just want to figure out how can they live off of what they've saved and live comfortably off what they saved. I also tend to sway towards somebody that is a conservative investor. What the math shows is that losses can hurt you more than gains help you. And so I like to work with conservative investors that don't want to have to worry about which way the market is turning today. They instead want to know which way is their grandkid turning today, right? Where is their next vacation going to take them to? Or where is their next charitable event going to be? And so my ideal client just wants to focus on the important things in life, knowing that they have confidence in their financial plan.
Hey, glad you're with us on Wealth by Design. Brad Johansson, Tom Elder, president of Retirement Wealth Design. Glad you are with us. Spent some time on taxes. That's one of your major risks in the first segment. Let's move on to some of the other risks that you face. How about you still being here? Yeah, longevity risk is probably a significant one. I've used my mom in this example, Tom, before. She's getting real close to 98. That's a long time.
That's amazing. That's a lot of time you got to spend with her.
Well, it is, and very blessed. Lost my dad 28 years ago. So there had to be a plan in place so that mom could make it this long, which is several years after retirement. We're now 30 plus years in retirement for my mom, trying to figure that out. Shoot, we've got a big old chance that most of us are going to live 90 the way medicine is going right now. What's the risk for us that we don't even think about, that we're still going to be here? Because that's the greatest concern for most retirees. I'm going to run out of money before I die.
Yeah, so we talked about taxes in the last segment. Sometimes they call this the hidden tax, meaning that you can look up the federal tax rates, you can look up state tax rates, and all the other taxes that we pay. But the hidden tax that some people miss is inflation. Now, we felt inflation recently. We felt inflation really hard, in fact, recently.
Yeah.
But when you start talking about living 20, 30, 40 years in retirement to where you're no longer getting a paycheck from your employer and you're getting a paycheck from yourself, you're having to run the risk and run the numbers of inflation. And the challenge becomes not everything inflates at the same rate. Some of it inflates a whole lot faster, such as healthcare. Healthcare has actually been averaging double the standard inflation rate. Currently, in the state of Missouri, the average nursing home costs $108,000 per year. And if now we're talking about it inflating at double the standard rate, it could very easily cost $200,000 to $300,000 per year if you were to need long-term care after you age. And the average length of need is 2 years. So now think about that. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on long-term care. And if you're married, that's for both of you. And so one of the things that we need to look at is, what is the impact that inflation is going to have on you, and specifically in the different areas of your finances, because you might be able to go back to work at 67, 70, 72 years old, right? You might have the option to unretire and go back and do something to help provide some more income. However, when you're 80, 85, 98, like Brad's mother, probably not going back to work if inflation hasn't been planned for and you start to run out of money. And so that's why, kind of like with toothpaste, right? I always wait till the very end to start using that little actual pea-size amount. I run through it a whole lot faster in the beginning. Don't treat retirement like toothpaste and use a whole bunch at the beginning and then end up running out towards the end and having to make an emergency run to the grocery store. Instead, we can plan ahead for this and make sure that not only are we having income from some of our money, but we also have money set up for growth and future expenses as life works its way. You get to spend time with family, you get to spend time with friends, you get to focus on the important things in life and not have to focus on your financial plan because you've planned ahead for it and you know that it's coming.
We hit a lot of these different risks, and the numbers on your screen. Not everybody's going to hit the same risk, Tom, the same way in what they're dealing with, because their life is so different. So how do you adjust plans? Because we've said this many times, that there are a lot of people who are watching who have advisors. Mm-hmm. Big box, I think, is probably one of our most popular terms, is that my friend's in the same thing, my neighbor's in the same thing, my coworker's in the same thing, because they said this is the best thing. What's wrong with not doing retirement plans individualistically when we're talking about tax risk or longevity risks or the ones that we're going to hit again? And why is it different when people call this number and come in and talk to you?
Well, I think that the biggest difference is, yes, we can use financial planning software. We can put it on paper. The financial planning software will even spit out certain things, but it's all peanut butter, cookie cutter type of advice. And a lot of the larger firms can sometimes use these financial planning softwares and they just give the same thing when you line them up side by side. The difference between us is that we ask questions. We ask a lot of questions. And what we do is we tailor the approach based off of your goals, history, and future. And what I want for you is freedom. What I want for you is to be able to focus on the important things in life. And so our questions all revolve around you, and our plans then revolve around you. Did your parents end up living into their 80s, into their 90s? Did they die prematurely in their 60s? Well, we still need to build a plan around you. Do you want to travel early in retirement and then kind of take your foot off the gas, but then are worried about healthcare in the future? We can plan for that. Do you want to stay in that same house? Do you want a different house? Do you want a lake house? We can plan for that. And we build every single aspect of our plans, including the investments, individually to match what your goals and expectations are, because at the end of the day, it's about planning with purpose. What's your purpose? Does your plan match that purpose? Does every dollar in your plan match that purpose? So that way you can live on purpose.
833-348-4813. It is to set up a complimentary visit, to put together a complimentary written financial plan, because your concerns are going to be different than everybody else's, even if you are in that same thing that everyone was supposed to be in. You're supposed to be in the thing that's going to make your money last the way you want, with the freedom that you would like. 833-348-4813. Let's put together an appointment for you that puts together a complimentary written financial plan. And then you can walk on your way and say, take it or leave it. But what are you waiting for? Wouldn't you like a second opinion, to have an idea of something different than you've heard before? It's the reason that you've turned on the program. Maybe today is the day that you make the call. 833-348-4813. More concerns that you have? We'll talk about it when we return.
How I got in the financial space was really based off my grandfather. My grandfather grew up in poverty, Great Depression, like a lot of people. He taught me that a full life is not about what you have, what you drive, what's in your bank account. The purpose of life, how to have a full life, is serving other people. I grew up in a great household, had a great dad that taught me a lot of lessons about work ethic. One of the biggest lessons he taught me was if you're gonna do a job, do it right or don't do it at all. But my grandfather really instilled in me the servant's heart mentality. When I got old enough that I finally realized I could have an impact on the community around me, that I was given gifts that could be used to serve others, one of the people that I started with was my dad. My dad was a great father of four, worked his whole life, sacrificed for us. One of the areas that he told me that he had always struggled with and struggled to find good advice was finances. So when I realized that I had a gift for finances and that I could actually help those around me, I started with him. And he was one of my very first clients ever. And he still is today, and I'm proud to say he's successfully retired. He helps take care of my kids now. But that's how we treat everyone that we work with. We try to serve those around us, because at the end of the day, that's why we're here.
Glad you're with us on Wealth by Design. Brad Johansson, Tom Elder, Retirement Wealth Design. And we're anxious to have you come in, because when Tom talks about a passion project, that is his life now. The passion project is servant leadership to help other people. And there is no greater storyteller than the one that helps you retire with the story that you want to tell for the rest of your life. We're talking about your concerns. Tom, I want to bring up this study that was done 5 years ago, 2021 Modern Retirement Study. 40% of today's seniors at that point believed their generation had a harder time achieving retirement than their parents did. Nearly a third of older Americans believe they're going to outlive their money. That's 1 out of 3. It says, you know what, I'm going into retirement, I'm going to do it. Man, I hope this thing works. What's wrong about that we're moving into that? And you already talked about the debt, that we're going to have a really tough time making this whole thing up because it doesn't work. Government is changing. We have legislative risk. We have geopolitical risk. We have family risk, and we now have generational things. Man, I want my grandpa's retirement. Can somebody just give me a watch and a cake and some mailbox money for the next 2 weeks? Now I've got to do this on my own. There is joy for you, though, in the difficulty that we now have in this generation of trying to figure this out for people who are really, really worried it's not going to work.
Well, there's opportunity. I think there's a big difference. So it's not about necessarily just hoping that things work out, right? Hope isn't a retirement strategy. But what I think it is, it's the unknown. Like, we know what we know what we don't know, right? And we can go find that out. It's we don't know what we don't know. And so I don't think it's I just hope it's going to work out. I think it's more of I don't know what I don't know. And it takes a lot of time, energy, effort, and there's a lot of conflicting information, and we go down these rabbit holes, and we can use AI, and we can use Google search, and we can use this, and we can use that, and it just gets overwhelming to the point that you look at your balance, you look at your statement, you're like, I've done well, it'll be okay. And unfortunately, what that also leads to is this underlying feeling of, am I going to run out of money?
Yeah.
And I've seen that regardless of how much money you have saved. You can have multiple millions, you can have hundreds of thousands, you can have 100,000. It's across the board. And so one of the things that I like to do is kind of level set with people of, all we need to do is figure out what your box top looks like for a puzzle. We need to figure out what your vision is going to look like, how you want this all to look at the end of the day, what that outcome is that you're looking for, and then we put the puzzle pieces in place to match your box top. So we ask a lot of questions on what your vision is. We ask a lot of questions on how you feel, things that you haven't even thought about before sometimes, and that's okay. That's our job. That's why you have an advisor giving advice. Because we ask the right questions, we pull that vision out of you, and then we start putting the pieces together. I just had somebody the other day that they're in a great situation. They understand that they're in a good financial situation. They came in because they just want to know, am I missing anything? Is there something is there a question we're not answering? And this individual had been watching a lot of YouTube videos, had been trying to get the information. And so he had some questions, and his advisor was conflicting with some of the information that he had. And so what we did is we put this together and we stress tested it on real world examples. So a lot of times when I talk about stress testing, I talk about investments, and that's one aspect. And we did that. We stress tested for, underperforming market for the next 20 years, less than average, we call it, right? Or a immediate market drop, right? We stress tested it. But then we also stress tested on what happens if you live longer than you expect? What happens if your spouse passes prematurely? What happens if inflation goes up higher than expected? What happens if Social Security payments decrease? What happens if you have any of these things happen? What happens if taxes go up? What happens? And by stress testing it for these real world situations that happen for this couple, what we actually found is, yes, if everything goes according to plan, their plan will do exactly what their advisor had told them. Do exactly what their advisor told them. But what we also found was that if one or two things don't go exactly as planned, it's going to be a little rough. And so the beautiful thing about this is we're still able to adapt. We're still able to fix that and get that gap. We're still way ahead of it, and we're doing proactive planning. We're not responding to it after it already happened saying, uh-oh. We're doing it proactively, saying we know these are some of the risks that come along with retirement. And in doing so, now they really are going to be okay. Now they're insulated. Now they're secure. Now they're protected, that if any of this stuff happens, inflation goes up, they have more healthcare costs than expected, they're going to be okay. And if you want to be okay too, give me a call. I'll stress test it. I'll test it for real world examples for your portfolio and your situation. My team will pick up this phone and they will schedule you some time and we'll walk through it together, because you're not alone in this. We're here to help. And if we can, we will. If we can't, we'll tell you. But no matter what, you're going to leave more informed and better off because you sat down with us.
Can't wait for you to be in the office. Let's put this together for you. Make the call for yourself today. Thanks for joining us. Your time's valuable. Appreciate you spending it with us. Now do something for yourself, and we'll see you right back here next time on Wealth by Design.